Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive right in and uncover some absolutely profound spiritual lessons from the prophetic biography. What we're really doing here is translating ancient, foundational wisdom into practical frameworks that we can actually use in our modern lives. Especially for those of us who are non-native students of Arabic, we're going to look at some original source texts, break down the translations, and pull out the deep spiritual meanings hidden inside these incredible historical events.
Here's a quick look at our syllabus. We're starting with the wisdom and prophetic stories, then we'll look at adab through the story of Abu Huraira's milk, explore sabr through the patience of Ayub, unpack sadaqah with a generous garden, and finally, wrap up with how to actually live out these spiritual lessons.
Okay, Part 1. Wisdom in Prophetic Stories and Understanding Tarbiyah.
So before we get to the specific stories, we have to talk about this concept of tarbiyah. Tarbiyah isn't just about passively reading historical accounts for the sake of knowing history. Not at all. It translates to active spiritual education and development. It's the whole process of taking these divine lessons and using them to totally transform how we live, how we react to things, and how we treat the people around us. Every single story we're exploring today was specifically curated for its tarbawi, or educational, impact.
Moving on to Part 2, Adab Abu Huraira's milk, the test of manners and hunger.
For our non-native students out there, take a look at the original Arabic text here. The title at the top reads Adab Atam, which translates to the manners or the etiquette of eating. This perfectly grounds our exploration in the authentic source, letting us see exactly how the classical scholars framed this amazing story of Abu Huraira.
Now, we generally define adab as beautiful manners, ethical behavior, and essentially the discipline of the soul. And Abu Huraira was about to have his adab tested to the absolute limit. He was in a state of severe starvation, literally starving. Yet, when a single, very small bowl of milk was presented to the Prophet told Abu Huraira to go and invite the people of the Sufa to drink from it first. The Sufa were a large group of very poor, very hungry companions. Just imagine that for a second. You are starving, and you are told to share your only hope for a meal with dozens of other hungry people.
But Abu Huraira obeys. He goes and serves the entire group, passing this one little bowl from man to man, and miraculously, every single person drinks until they are completely full. It defies logic, right? Finally, the Prophet hands the bowl back to Abu Huraira and tells him to drink. And this is just a brilliant illustration of the miracle of prophetic provision. Abu Huraira drinks, and the Prophet tells him to drink again and again, until Abu Huraira famously says, "By him who sent you with the truth, I have no room for it." He was completely and totally satiated. So extracting the Tarbawi lessons from the Arabic text here, we see three big things. First, the absolute importance of manners, even when you're facing extreme hardship. Second, there's a practical ruling. The one who serves the group actually drinks last. But most importantly, it teaches us that ultimate blessings and miraculous provisions come when we prioritize our obedience to divine guidance over our own immediate personal desires.
All right, Part 3. Sabr, the patience of Ayub. 18 years of beautiful endurance.
Checking out the original source again, the title reads Imam as-Sabirin Ayub. This translates to the Imam, or the ultimate leader, of the patient. By flat-out declaring him the Imam of the patient, the text is setting the stage for a story of just unimaginable trial and steadfastness.
Sabr. It's an incredibly deep word. It is way, way more than just waiting something out. It actually translates to beautiful patience. It means enduring without complaint and placing your complete, unbreakable trust in God's ultimate plan. Ayub demonstrated exactly this kind of sabr when he was struck with an illness that lasted for 18 full years. 18 years! It was a trial so severe that he was isolated and eventually abandoned by almost everyone in his society.
Honestly, I want us all to pause right here and ask ourselves a tough question. How do our minor daily frustrations, like sitting in bad traffic, getting a delayed email, catching a cold, how do those measure up against 18 years of unwavering faith and perfect patience? It completely reframes our entire perspective on what it actually means to endure hardship.
And the contrast here brilliantly illustrates the spiritual law of divine compensation found in the text. On one side, you have 18 years of absolute, isolating trial. On the other side, you see the result of his sabr. God didn't just heal Ayub physically, he completely showered him with miraculous abundance. The Arabic text actually describes a miracle where clouds physically poured pure gold and silver down upon his threshing floors until they completely overflowed. No way, right? Just incredible. So what is the core spiritual meaning for us? Well, the Arabic commentary reminds us that afflictions aren't necessarily punishments at all. In fact, the prophets faced the most severe tests out of anyone. Hardships actually act as vehicles. They wipe away our sins and dramatically elevate our spiritual ranks. The big takeaway is that perfect patience brings massive compensation, both in this world and limitlessly in the next.
Let's look at part 4 now. Sadaqah, the generous garden, the cloud that took orders.
In our original Arabic source, this specific lesson is titled Fadl as-Sadaqah, translating to the virtue or the profound merit of charity. And it introduces a highly mystical, really captivating story about the direct, physical impact that giving charity has on the natural world around us.
So sadaqah represents voluntary charity that is given purely out of faith. Unlike obligatory taxes, it's a completely free will offering. And the story we're about to look at proves that when you give sadaqah, the universe literally responds to you. It brings real, tangible spiritual and physical returns right back to the giver.
Get this. The prophet shared a story of a man walking out through a barren wilderness. Out of nowhere, he hears a voice coming directly from the sky, and it's commanding a cloud. The voice says, "Water the garden of so-and-so." The man is stunned, so he follows this specific cloud as it bypasses absolutely everything else, only to release all its water onto one specific rocky tract of land that belongs to a single farmer. When the man asks him why, the farmer explains that he always gives a full third of his garden's harvest away in charity.
The spiritual takeaway here is just absolutely profound. God intimately cares for those who care for others. By consistently giving sadaqah, this farmer literally invited divine intervention into his daily life. The text clearly shows us that wealth isn't diminished when you give it away in charity. Instead, it is actively preserved, it's protected by the forces of nature themselves, and it's multiplied through the very act of giving.
Which brings us to part 5, living the spiritual lessons and bringing tarbiyah home.
To truly benefit from this explainer today, we really have to step out and actively embody these translations of faith. We need to anchor ourselves with the unbreakable sabr of Ayub when we hit health or personal trials. We've got to practice the selfless adab of Abu Huraira when we're interacting with our communities, putting other people first. And we must consistently give sadaqah with our resources to invite those miraculous, life-giving clouds into our own backyards. I want to leave you with this final thought. The seeds of these lessons, derived straight from the classical Arabic wisdom, are now right there in your hands. You know the true spiritual meanings of adab, sabr, and sadaqah. So the only question left is, which one are you going to start watering today?